Tipping culture makes no sense. How are you more mad at me for not tipping you well than mad at the company for underpaying you? Nigga paid you in handshakes and goodbyes. Now I get it. If you're mad at me for not tipping you at all, valid, you got it. People are getting mad now for tipping you less than what they expected. Why are you expecting a tip in the first place? When did we make tipping mandatory? Nigga, hold this $5 and be grateful. Nigga, I'm broke too. Federal minimum wage is $7. We're counseling people for tipping $10. Bitch, I'm 30% over. Be happy. Because if you can't afford to tip, don't eat out. Damn, you succubus! Fuck! Damn! So you're saying because I can't supplement an entire adult's income, I can enjoy a triple dipper from Applebee's? Is that not crazy? Also, why are we signing these maximum work, minimum wage contracts? Willingly. That's free slavery. Nigga signed his life over for $2.50 plus tips. Nigga, you gotta go apply to the plantation. Nigga, they got better benefits over there for sure. Gotta have a deal on cheap cotton at least. Mad at me over a tip. Nigga, go talk to your CEO, buddy. Set up a conference meeting. Go jump that nigga, bro. I didn't see niggas get beat up for less. Also, the people that are complaining about tips don't deserve tips. We got a host flipping iPads talking about it's gonna ask you a few questions. Nigga, fuck you and them questions, bitch. If I'm picking up the order, scanning the order, nigga, typing the order in, nigga, paying for my order, I'm pushing a card and what the fuck am I tip? Bitch, you owe me a tip. Nigga, I'm working. At this point, I work at this bitch. I might as well fill the application out too. You flip the... If I'm doing all of your job and I'm answering the questions, niggas owe me money. Nigga, we need to start reverse tipping niggas. From now on, when a nigga asks me for a tip, I'ma write some shit down. I'ma jot some shit down on the paper and hand it to you. I got a few tips for you, buddy.
So I'm not tipping anymore. I'm done. I'm out. Used to be you would give a tip if somebody gave exceptional service. When was the last time you got exceptional service anywhere? And it's just expected. They bring you the bill at the end and they're like, here, just fill this out. 20%, 25%. No, you did your job. They made food. You carried it to my table. You got me a Diet Coke. Thank you. That was your job. You don't get 25% because you did your job. And I'm not the bad guy here. I'm not. If you own a restaurant, just tell me what it costs. I don't want people to go hungry. What does it cost for me to get my food and also so that the wait staff doesn't have to join the cartel, do some Lord of the Flies, Oliver Twist? Like, I want people to be taken care of. Just tell me what it costs.
I don't understand tipping in the hair, nails, and lashes industry, and I feel like I'm going to get hate for this, but I really don't get it. For example, let's say hair, nails, lashes, whatever the service is, you charge $120. It don't cost that, but you charge that. You charge $120 for the service, okay? I agree to pay you $120 for the service. That includes your time, physical labor, and the materials. That is $120 total. That's the service. $30 tip, $50 tip for what? We agreed you would do a service, and I would pay you this much for the service. The service is done. I paid. Why is there extra money? I would pay you extra if I inconvenienced you in some way and you had to do extra work, extra materials, or extra time. Outside of what it normally takes to do the service, including the materials, time, or labor, if you did more than usual, I would pay more than that. But you don't. I didn't say it costs $120. You said it costs $120. Include the tip in your price. If you want a $20 tip, charge $140. I don't like this attitude of looking at people sideways because they don't tip you for something you agreed to do for that price. People who work in restaurants make like $4 an hour. They rely on tips to have a normal wage. You make your own wage. You chose $120 as the price. You don't rely on tips. Every fucking service is $120. I don't get it. Sorry.
So I usually never tip when I go out to eat or when I get food or anything like that. I think tipping is not necessary. I feel like it's not my responsibility as a customer to subsidize wages. Like, it's not my fault that you don't get paid enough, so I'm not gonna tip you just because you decided to work in this industry. And fun fact, in Japan, if you tip, they take it as you're belittling them or insulting them. Like, it's offensive to them if you tip. So maybe they should do the same thing here. If I have bad service, I won't be tipping. If I'm eating at a buffet, I won't be tipping. What are you doing? I'm getting my own food. All you're doing is coming around every once in a while and clearing the plates and giving me something to drink. I'm not gonna tip because I'm getting my own food. Thank you very much. If I am ordering to go, I am not tipping. Nope. Zero. Not tipping. If I am at the mall and I order pretzels or I order, Dippin' Dots, no, I'm not tipping either. I'm pressing 0 on that tip screen. You want to know the only people that I tip? Strippers. Because they're giving you a service. They're putting a whole act for you. They deserve that tip and more.
Get that tip screen out my face. You put 12 donut holes in a bag and you think I'm about to tip? Like, tipping culture has really gotten out of hand. Like, if I'm not sitting down being served or serviced, stop it. You're doing your job. Like, you didn't go above and beyond for me. You didn't do nothing. You're not getting a tip. And if the service is bad, I'm not tipping. We all need to come to a consensus on this. If the gratuity is included, baby, that's it. That's it. Tipping culture is out of line.
Okay, I have a question for hairdressers and people that get their hair done like regularly, like dyed, because I'm feeling a lot of guilt right now and I'm looking for validation that I'm right, but I also want to know if I'm in the wrong here so I can fix it. I went into someone new 2 weeks ago, and so I've never seen her before, and all I wanted was some baby lights like on the top of my head and then this money piece. So exactly what you're seeing now, right? This is my regular hair color and the money piece and the baby lights. But the thing is, 2 weeks ago, I did not get this. Like, when I saw the finished hair 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh, okay. And there's like this whole situation. So I felt really bad, like asking her for anything. And I was like, let me just see how I feel about it. I'm like trying to take pictures after. I talked to my girlfriend and like, I could barely even notice a difference in my hair. So I ended up messaging the stylist and she was very nice. And I was like, hey, I like, everything else looks great, but I wanted the money piece to be more exaggerated, like the inspiration picture. Mind you, the inspiration picture was literally like me a couple years ago. And she was like, oh yeah, of course, like let me get you booked. So fast forward 2 weeks to today, I go in, I sit down, we're doing just the money piece, and it takes 3 hours, by the way. And this is where I don't know if I was in the wrong, but I was assuming that since she didn't do what I wanted the first time, that this time would be free or just like paying for a product, like a very minimal price. Now, I will take responsibility because this is something I should have confirmed beforehand that I did not. So that's on me. But I get done, I get to the register, and they were like, it's going to be $168. I paid $200 the first time, and she didn't do what I wanted, and now I'm paying another $168. So I was kind of like, I'm sorry, like that's just a little bit more than I was expecting. And so they went back to talk to the stylist, and they ended up dropping it down to like $127, which I was still like, that's way more than I was expecting, like $50 for product. So anyways, this has now, for the money piece and the baby lights, has cost me $327 plus the small tip I left her the first time. But like, I did not tip her today. And they were kind of like, do you want a printed receipt to tip? And I was like, no, because it was $127 more than I thought I would pay for that. Like, when I tell you that inspiration pic and what I ended with was nowhere like close. Anyways, so I'm panicking that I made her feel bad. She was very nice. I'm just like, it wasn't what I wanted, and then I had to pay more, and I've now paid so much for a very minimal thing. Anyways, can you just, am I in the right? Am I in the wrong? Should I find a way to tip her now? Like, that's what I'm feeling really guilty about. Anyways, let me know your thoughts.
Why do Americans feel so entitled to tipping? Like, I said hi to you. You didn't say anything to me. You have a fake smile on your face. I bought one item. You expect me to tip. Yeah, let me tell you something. I used to be that type of person that feel guilty when I don't tip. Forget that. If you don't want to tip, you don't want to tip. Like, you didn't provide no service. You just cashed me out.
This might be controversial, but let's talk tipping culture. Because quite honestly, I'm so done with it. This week was a pretty rough week, and honestly, I just did not want to cook tonight. We do not go out to eat very often, like literally once, maybe twice a month. And this was an extra day in there that we were not planning on. But I honestly could not stomach the thought of cooking anything tonight. And we were not eating in the restaurant. I just went to pick up the food, and the tip defaulted to 25%. The 3 default tip options were literally 20, 22.5, and 25%. I do understand some restaurants that have like car side to go, tipping those because I know they're part of the servers and that's just their rotation. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying you should not tip, but the restaurants that literally just put the food in the bag and charge you, are you guys tipping? And how much are you tipping? Because the fact that it auto set to 25%, like that just it just makes me mad. That should not be the default for a to-go order where I do not have a server helping me with anything. Like, am I in the wrong here? Or do I need to think about this more? Or what are you all doing? Because or am I just in a bad mood? Because I am just kind of over the whole thing right now.
If you cannot pay for 20% on top of your meal, guess what? You can't afford to eat out. No one deserves to go out to eat. It is a privilege to be served. This is part 2 of my series, obviously with Avi, because common sense is not that common. And apparently a lot of these things are not obvious, so I'll be the one to teach you them. This is coming from someone that has worked in restaurants, cafes, I've been a barista, and I worked in fast food. So I feel very qualified to talk about tipping. The only place that I think you 100% have to tip, you 100% have to tip at a sit-down restaurant. If a server is coming to take your order and bringing you your food, you have to tip. The only times you don't have to tip at least the full amount is if the server was rude to your face, if the food did not come out in a timely manner and the restaurant did not comp the meal or did not give you something because it was late. Those are the only times you don't have to tip. But if the restaurant says, oh my God, this food is taking so long, here, have this on the house, or they take off whatever was taking so long off the bill, you still have to tip 20%. Okay? That's custom. If a server is bringing you your meal, it is coming out in a timely fashion, it is what you ordered. I don't care if the food sucked. The food has nothing to do with it, okay? You chose to go to this restaurant. Maybe the food was always sucking, okay? But if the food was brought out to you when it needed to be and the server brought you the food and there was no issues with that, you gotta tip 20%. I'm so sorry that the server did not ask how your day was. The server didn't do a backflip. The server wasn't talking about their birthday plans and summer plans with you. That's not part of the job description. I don't need to be a stand-up comedian to get a 20% tip. Okay? I'm gonna approach you with kindness, give you what you need, and then send you on your way when you give me my 20%. That is standard. That is standard, I fear. I fear that's standard. Another thing that people don't realize is that servers do not get the full amount of a minimum wage. They will make the minimum wage for the amount of hours they've worked if their tips do not exceed that. If their tips exceed that amount, then they get to keep the rest. That is the incentive behind being a server. Another thing people don't realize is that when you get that 20%, it's not going just to the server. It's not going just to the server. You're tipping out your bartender, your barback, your hostess, your food runner. Like, you're tipping out everybody, the busser. So there is not the full 20% going just to one person, especially if you have like a, I don't know, $400 meal and you're like, oh my God, $80 to one person. They're not getting all of that, okay? So calm your horses. If you're having a $400 meal and you can't tip 20%, guess what? You can't eat out. Cafes and baristas. This is my thing with being a barista. At least at the place that I worked at, we did get paid minimum wage. So everything that we got tipped was extra. That being said, I worked the morning shift because cafes are open really early in the morning. And I knew that our tips were being pooled. That's how we did it at our place. If your reason as a barista is like, no, we deserve a tip because we get up really early, get a new job. That is not a reason to be getting tipped out. You chose to wake up at 4 a.m. to be there for the 5 a.m. shift because you wanted to be a barista for whatever reason. So, you don't deserve a tip because of that. So I will give it to people that you don't have to tip at every single cafe place, okay? This is the other thing with that though. I think you do have to tip if you're spending more than like $10, okay? If you're just getting a single coffee and it's like $4, you don't have to tip on that. You don't have to tip. Take your $4 coffee, whatever. If you're getting a $7 specialty drink, you don't have to tip on that. You don't have to tip on that. Like, go on, whatever. But if you get like a specialty drink and like a breakfast item and it comes out to like $12, I think you should tip at least $1. I think you should tip at least $1. So that's my like threshold for it. So with cafes, it's like a little different because usually they're all pre-made before the morning shift or they're like heated up during the shift. So the people that are working at the front are not getting tipped out for those things. So that's where I'm like, the tip can be less. I'll usually round up to a full dollar amount or I'll tip $1. So that's my thoughts on cafes / bakeries, baristas, tipping. Lastly, fast food. Obviously we don't tip at fast food. We do not tip at fast food. And you know what? Out of all those experiences, I should have been tipped. I should have been tipped at fast food. I did work at Chick-fil-A and out of, I'm assuming other fast food places, we probably had the best clientele, but still we would have some whack experiences that I was like, what? People throwing their food back through the window. I'm like, what did I sign up for? At the end of the day, for working in fast food and at a cafe, my thoughts are, I signed up for those jobs. I signed up for them at the time. I could have worked at In-N-Out. This was in California. I could have worked at In-N-Out for like $1, $2 more. I just didn't like the shifts. The shifts were into like the late morning. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be up working until like 1 a.m. at In-N-Out. I was a young girl at the time. I didn't feel safe. So knowing that, I worked at Chick-fil-A and at the cafes during that time. I knew that. I knew what was expected of me. I knew I had to be there at 5 a.m. to serve coffee to people that haven't had their coffee yet, and they're not the nicest people. So you don't just deserve a tip just because you're waking up early, but at the same time, you don't deserve to eat out just because you have money for the meal. Okay? You can only eat out if you can afford the 20% tip. If you can't afford it, you can't eat out. No one deserves to go out to eat. It is a privilege to be served. Okay? Those are my thoughts. I am a big tipper. I believe in good money karma. I believe in giving money and getting money in return. I donate as much as I can where I can. And I think most, if not all servers will agree with me that it is great money karma. When I go out to eat, I always tip 20% because I know that when I was serving, I also got 20% a lot of the time. Those are my thoughts on tipping. I feel like it's very taboo. I feel like a lot of people just think that they are paying just for the food and that's it. I'll only go to the places that I can afford to tip at. I know, what a concept. What a concept. I think also people just think that like they're deserving of everything. You are deserving of nothing in this world. Nothing. Nothing. You're deserving of respect. You are. But it's very disrespectful to not tip 20%. Just my thoughts. Just my thoughts.
Let's talk about this. Some of you might be thinking to yourself, well, that doesn't look like a bad tip. Well, based on this total and even subtotal, it's a terrible tip. And I figured out exactly how this person did their math. Do you see that total right there? $160 for 2 bottles of Pinot Noir? My guess is this person decided to deduct that from the bill that they wanted to tip on. But why? Because if you're going to use that logic, then that means if you decide to show up and only drink wine that you don't want to tip. And you wouldn't do that. You also wouldn't go out to a bar and decide not to tip because, oh, well, that drink was really expensive. Why should I tip that? Let me tell you, because if you decide to stiff some bartenders, they will never serve you again. Like, that will happen. I'd also like to point out something that you might not know, which is most servers have to pay a tip out to their support staff. And while tip outs tend to vary from place to place, one thing that's pretty common is a lot of people have to tip out based on their net sales. I am one of those servers. So no matter what the guest decides to tip or not tip, I still have to tip my support staff out based on the net sales that I've sold for the night. The bartender, the expediter, the bussers, the food runners, and the hosts. So for that $30 I was shorted, that's going to come out of my pocket now. Is this making sense? So it's pretty simple. I understand that this may seem unfair to some of you, but you have to keep in mind that none of us are twisting your arm and forcing you to buy those bottles of wine. Of course I'm happy to serve you, and I don't expect the world's biggest tip, but tipping me like a little over 10% isn't gonna cut it. Because of what I just explained, that's why it's a big deal. And before any of you go in the comments and want to cry about how tipping is so unfair and blah, 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 exploitation of the consumer. And yes, we all kind of agree with you, but that's not the way the system works right now. Okay? Therefore, if you decide to go out to eat, y'all know better. You do, right? You do. Because if you don't want to pay that, I understand. You have an option to order takeout and pick up a bottle of wine at the grocery store on your way home. We don't want to keep having this conversation. Servers and bartenders, we don't want to keep arguing with you. You know what the right thing to do is, so don't screw us over because you want to save $30. Now that's coming out of my pocket. On that note, if you're still watching, thank you. And I'm going to go out for a drink. And I'm going to make sure to tip the bartender very handsomely because I, unlike these people, am not a cheap asshole. Have a good night, y'all.
I am so over tipping. It's gone too far. And so here's my new perspective, my new strategy when it comes to tipping. Number one, I am not tipping anywhere where they ask me to tip before I experience the service. For example, I went and got a $9 smoothie the other day, and right when I was like ordering my smoothie, I was like, oh, I'll get the breakfast smoothie. Then they're like, okay, it's just gonna ask you a few questions. The answer is no. One, y'all haven't made my smoothie. 2, I haven't tasted my smoothie. 3, I don't even know if I'm gonna like this smoothie yet. Why am I tipping? Like, I'm not tipping. Also, it's a smoothie. It's not like a sit-down restaurant. Like, what are we doing? There's a lot of places that make sense to tip, like restaurants. You experience the food, you experience the service, you're sitting down, you're being served. Of course you leave a tip there. But again, that tip is based off the experience. Okay? Same thing. Nail salons. You get your nails done, you pay and you tip based off the service. Okay? I'm not tipping preemptively. So that goes for coffee shops where they turn it around, ask you questions, ice cream shops, anywhere like that. Ice cream shops alone is just a no for me. You scooped my ice cream for 15 seconds and put it in a cup. Like, no. You guys are paid hourly. Like, hourly rates. If they're not enough, talk to your employer. But why is that burden being put on the consumers? I will never understand. As a business owner, imagine if every single time you guys bought a planner from my site, it was like, oh, just leave a tip. Leave a tip for what? We hand make all your planners and I'm still like, leave a tip for what? No.
Have you seen the video of the woman who orders DoorDash and she decides that she's going to pay in cash instead of paying on the app? The woman, the DoorDash lady, comes and gives her the food and she hands over the cash and she's like, no, don't worry, keep your tip. She's like, no, take it. And she's like, no, I left you a note in your food. The woman opens the note and it says, I didn't do anything with your food this time, but next time, tip your driver. Sorry? So who are you? First of all, I don't know why you're expecting other people to keep your lights on at home. Go for the people that you're working for because they should be paying you more. It's not right. But let me show you one of our bills, right? So £543 for 4 of us. It was a great night, Delilah's. Honestly, 10/10, cannot recommend enough. You first get charged an entertainment fee, £21.72. Now, you chose the entertainment. Why am I paying for it? If I'm choosing the entertainment, I should be able to select songs, right? Right. But the burlesque dancers, Then they do included gratuity, 20%. Now, that is service charge. That should be where the deal ends. It should end there, £108.60. Now, listen, we're fine with this. We will pay this. Total tax, £55.66. Again, listen, if that's what you need, take it from me. So the balance is then £728 from £543, mind you. Then suggested tip. Now you're taking the piss. Now we did pay, and I only ever pay 18 because I think an additional £100, bearing in mind you've already added 20% gratuity, is insane. Insanity, darling. So they end up getting basically what? I don't know how much. I can't do maths, but a lot more.
Tip your servers and your bartenders when you go out to eat. I've seen a rise recently in people railing against tipping culture and maybe just a willingness to admit that they don't tip or they don't want to tip. I get it. Like, tipping culture in America, it sucks. It sucks that businesses aren't required to pay people who are working incredibly hard a living wage. That sucks. But it doesn't matter. If you are taking a stand like you're Mr. Pink in Reservoir Dogs, all you're doing is hurting somebody that's a fellow human being that's doing a good job. Or even if they're not doing a good job, it doesn't matter. They're working and they deserve to be compensated for their time. They are helping you out by providing you with a service. So tip your servers, tip your bartenders. Don't be a jerk.
Where do you guys stand on tipping and tipping culture as a whole? The reason I ask is because my husband and I just went and got massages at Hand and Stone Massage over in Riverstone, which is near Sugar Land, Texas. It was phenomenal. We had a great experience. It's the first time that we've been there. So of course, like when you're checking out, they try to sell you the membership, which I was very easily sold on because I get sold very easily on pretty much anything. Great experience. Highly recommend it. Very excited for the next one. But at the very end, the girl who's at the front desk asked, oh, do you want to add gratuity onto this? To which normally in a service, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, like absolutely. Like I assume that I'm going to be tipping for serviced individuals, but there was just something that was so grimy to me about having to be verbally asked. Because to me, it's just like, it's kind of like a shameful experience. Like you're almost being shamed into having to tip as opposed to just being given the option to tip. Maybe I'm just like making more of a deal out of this than I should, because again, obviously, like I work in the service industry, so I think that tips are always appreciated, but working in a med spa, like it's appreciated, but it's not expected. I expect to tip when I don't get my nails, I do my nails at home anymore, but like when I would go get my nails, and I expect to tip there. When I get my hair done, it's expected to tip there. When you go to a restaurant, it's expected to tip there. But my thing is like, when you're paying a set rate and a very large set rate for certain services, I don't know, to me, I'm like, why don't you just increase your rate so that way you don't have to worry about having to ask to be tipped? Plus, as a consumer, it's also just a little bit icky feeling to be asked this as opposed to just having like a pad presented to me to give with different options. Like, I am so much more likely to tip a higher amount if you just hand over the thing. Like in my office, we just hand it over and we say, okay, this is gonna be the amount, and then it gives them a tip screen if they want to tip, and they have the option to either no tip and then different percentages. I'm much more likely to then choose then, oh yeah, 20%. 15%, 10%, whatever the case is. But when there's other people in the lobby and I'm verbally asked, would you like to add gratuity? What's the other option? It's either I come off as an asshole when I say no, or if I'm like, oh yes, then you're like, well, how much would you like to tip? And I'm like, fuck, now I have to mentally do math. I don't know. There is just something so icky to me about verbally being asked if I want to tip somebody when I was already going to. But now I have to verbally give you a number in front of other people, so that way you either know how much of a great tipper I am or how cheap I am. When in all reality, I just think that we should just get rid of tipping when it comes to these larger serviced items. Just add it into your price point. When I'm already paying $130 for a massage, I don't know, increase it to $140, $145, $150. I would much rather pay a higher rate, not having to worry about the tipping option, than the reverse. And again, back up here, this is getting pretty long, but if the massage was like $75, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, let me throw in an extra 30, you know, let's make it an even 105. And then they're taking home more. But like, I don't know, it's grimy. Tipping's grimy. I think we've gotten out of hand with it in America, and I don't know, where do you guys stand on it?
I just went to the nail salon, and for the first time ever, I didn't tip. If you're a service provider, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, aside from the service itself, your job is to create like a welcoming environment, or maybe not welcoming, like a pleasant environment, right? Am I wrong? This guy, he was doing my nails, he was doing his thing, whatever the fuck, and he puts the color on my pinky nail I thought he was asking me, is this color good? He puts it on the smallest fucking fingernail, this one right here, and showed it to me. It was like, is it good? And I wanted a blue, and this one looked a little bit more purple, so I was like, do you mind if I change the color? You would have thought I threatened this man's firstborn fucking child. He was like, ugh. My face got so red. He was like, change the color. I guess he called over his boss. He was like, she wants to change the color. And you're like this, like with my nails like this, like, and he literally wants to fucking kill me. Brings over the book. She was like, pick a different color. Okay, whatever. I picked a different color. Took fucking 5 seconds. He goes over to grab the different color, and under his breath, he's like, Jesus. Like, no, if you're gonna be rude to me, I'm not gonna tip you, and I'm not gonna feel bad about it. Like, most of the world, I think tipping culture is out of control. Like, obviously, sometimes a tip is warranted. But if I'm going to you and, like, you're being rude to me and I'm paying you, like, why would I tip you? I don't understand.
I literally have to tell y'all what just happened to me. So I went to Starbucks, right? Mind you, I work at Starbucks as well, but I just work at a different location. So when I walk in, the girl is so freaking sweet to me. She's literally the sweetest girl in the freaking world. I was like, hey, can I get a cheese Danish? She was like, yeah, of course. So then the tip sign shows up, and she was like, it's just gonna ask you a question. Why would I tip you for unpackaging a pre-packaged pastry, putting it in the oven, putting it in a bag, and handing it to me? I don't even understand Starbucks tipping. Like, why are we tipping at Starbucks? And I'm saying that as a Starbucks employee. In Ohio, the starting pay for Starbucks is $15 an hour. Why are we getting tipped? So obviously I hit 0. As soon as I hit 0, customer service went down. Then as soon as I hit 0, she looked at the screen and she was like, I'll have that right out. I was like, oh, let me put on my acting skills real quick. When I first came in, as soon as I hit 0, it'll be right out. All you're doing is just making me a coffee, something I can do at home, but I just decided to go somewhere else.
I asked my table for a tip after they were gonna stiff me, and I don't care how much hate I get for this. Everybody talks about tipping culture this, tipping culture that. No, but let me break it down for you, okay? It's Saturday night. I'm being told I'm gonna get a party of 16, which I said, great, bring it on. Let's go, easy money. So I thought, okay? So the party of 16 gets sat in my section. They take up 3 tables in my section. So when you get sat at a party, you usually get skipped in rotation a few times because you're dealing with a big party. I get to the table, I introduce myself, I do my whole spiel. Before I'm finished even speaking, one guy's like, whoa, hey, stop. He said, hold on. He said, you're not going to talk to them, you're going to talk to me. I'm going to order everybody's food and then I'll give you the drinks. I said, okay, perfect. What are we having to drink? He said, no, I'm going to give you the food first and then I'm going to give you the drinks. I said, okay, perfect. What will you be having? He ordered 6 vegetarian combos, which comes 2 veggie patties, 2 protein pancakes, egg whites, and a side of fruit. He said, but we don't want egg whites. All of the egg whites, change them out for hash browns. On those hash browns, I want you to add jalapenos and onions. Great, let's do that. Then he proceeds to order 7 omelets. 7 omelets which come with 3 pancakes each. Okay, perfect. After that, when he gives me the drinks, he orders 15 waters, no ice, 14 hot chocolates with whipped cream, and 1 regular coffee with regular milk. Okay, I said, perfect, I've sent in the order for you. He said, and make it quick because we have somewhere to be. That's where I almost lost my shit. Because how do you come out to a restaurant, order 7 omelets, and tell me to hurry up? I said, you know what, sir? There is other people in this restaurant. It probably won't come out as fast as you'd like it to, but we will definitely try our best. Okay? When I tell you that the kitchen got this food out in like that, the kitchen got this food out quick. I had 2 other servers help me run food. We were all carrying a bunch of hot plates. Took it to the table. They got everything that they needed. Before the food got to their table, they all had already napkins, syrup, hot sauce. They had everything that they could have needed to enjoy their meal. So they enjoy their food, whatever. I'm checking on them. They keep saying everything's great. When it came down to give them the check, I gave the check to the guy who was like, oh, I'm going to order everything. I'm going to pay for everything. Okay, great. I gave him the check. The check was $320 with some change. And when it came to pay, he pays me cash. He gives me $321, which means no tip. And I was like, okay. So I went to the table. There's no tip at the table, anything. I said, okay, I'm going to go ask him. So I went up to him. I said, excuse me, sir. You only gave me $321. I just wanted to ensure that this was accurate. You're not going to leave any gratuity. I just wanted to make sure everything came out to your expectations. You enjoyed your food. Everything was to your liking. And, you know, I just want to make sure. He said, well, I didn't know it was mandatory. I said, no, it's not mandatory. I just wanted to ensure that this was accurate, that nobody took the tip off the table or anything like that. This man pulls out a $50 bill, gives it to me, kind of like, here's your tip and shut the fuck up, get out my face type shit, which I don't give a fuck, because how dare you go out to eat in a party of 16 on a tab of $320 and not tip? And I feel like nobody was going to believe me, so I saved the check. I'm going to show y'all. This check is literally half my size. I'm not even playing with you right now. Like, okay, $320, right? Minimum 15% gratuity would have been $48. So he basically just gave me the minimum, which is fine. But if you don't got money to go to tip on your meal, don't even go out to eat. And I'm not talking like, oh, like if you're by yourself and you get a $15 meal, I'm not saying leave $30 tip. No, like not everybody's set up like that. Not everybody knows the industry. But how dare you go out to eat? 16 people, rack up a tab of $320, be rude to your fucking server, enjoy your service still, and not fucking tip. I don't care. I did what the fuck I did. I don't give a fuck. And my servers, I know y'all felt that shit. Sometimes we just gotta sit here and make sure, because the fuck, I wanted him to admit to me that he wasn't leaving me a tip on a $320 tab. I wanted him to admit to me that he came out to eat with 16 of his friends and family members and decided not to tip. I wanted him to admit it. I would have been fine. Okay, cool. That's the type of person you are. But he gave me my tip, so whatever. But nobody was gonna believe me. Look how fucking big this.
You know when your customer's paying cash and they tell you to keep the change, but the change is literally just like $1 or even worse, just like some coins? I'm gonna tell you guys what I used to do when I was a server that is a little toxic, but would sometimes get them to put more cash down for me. This method works best when it's like a group and there's one person paying, because you're gonna want them to see this, and when it's like an extra offensive amount, like literally coins on the table. Say the customer's tab is like $127.50, and they give me like $130 and tell me to keep the change. I would get the coins and the $2 and put it back on the table. I would say something like, I got confused when I was counting the change and I really don't want to mess it up, so took the cash for your bill. If you want to tip me in cash, feel free to leave it on the table. Thank you guys again. Have a good night. It's perfect if it's like a group, they hear me say that and they look and see that I put a miscellaneous amount of coins on the table along with 2 single dollar bills. Usually, either the person that's paying is going to be partially embarrassed, or somebody else at the table is going to be like, what the fuck? It's a 6 top and you left 2
2 crumb-ass dollar bills on the table, and they'll usually drop something. Or maybe the person paying the bill actually did it on accident, and they'll fix it. Only like a 40% chance that it works, but it's better than nothing, and it's better than taking a fat L. A girl can try.
I didn't tip the server last night, and here's why. So we go into this restaurant, I'm not going to say which one, and we get seated pretty fast. Mind you, I have 2 tween boys and a baby. So we go in, we get seated, and we sit there literally for 10 minutes before somebody came up and asked us what we'd like to drink. We told them what we wanted to drink. About 5 minutes later, we got the drinks. The drinks were not right at all. Okay, whatever, no problem, whatever. Send them back. We waited again for like maybe another 5 minutes for the drinks. We finally get the drinks were right. Then she was like, you know, go ahead, look at the menu. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come back, you know. So we look at the menu. We're pretty fast because we're hungry. So we fold the menus up, we put them on the side, and we're just sitting there. We're talking, we're playing, you know, the kids are playing with the little computer screen cash out thing on the table. We're doing that. I'm on my phone. We're just like bullshitting, right? And I'm like, wow, this is taking a long time. And I look at the time, and it had been like almost 15 minutes, and still the server's not in sight. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to hurry up and go to the bathroom. I was like, if the server comes to the table, tell the lady what you guys want. Mind you, my kids are like 13, so, you know, they're old enough to tell them what they want. I go to the bathroom. To the left of me, I can see, you know, like the alleyway for the people, and I see our server, and she's just over there like on her phone bullshitting with her friends. Whatever, okay, cool, whatever, right? I was like, well, I wonder if she went to the table. So I go back to the table. I'm like, did the server come? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there, and then I'm like looking around. I'm like, okay, where is she? Another 10 minutes, because at that point now I'm keeping time. Another 10 minutes, she finally comes to the table. She's like, are you guys ready? I'm like, yeah, we've been ready. Mind you, I have a baby, so like I want to be fast. Takes our order, puts it in. We ordered an appetizer, never got the appetizer. She finally comes back with the food, you know, probably about like a good 15 minutes for the food, 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, we never got the appetizer. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry, let me bring that out. I was like, no, we already have our food, I don't want that. Can you just take it off? She's like, I'm so sorry, no problem. Whatever, we eat our food. My food was not the way it was supposed to be. I asked for my stuff well done, no pink, whatever. And she's like, comes back again, how was your food? I was like, this was like bloody inside. I did not like it at all. At that point, I'm annoyed because I'm like, I literally, when I order my food, I'm like, can I get it like well done, like cut in half, no pink, like check it. So the fact that it was bloody, I was just like, okay, ew, gross. Anyway, she comes, brings us the bill. Then the appetizer's still on the bill. So then I had to sit there and wait again longer to be able to tell her like, yo, you charged me for this appetizer, we didn't even get it. So anyways, long story short, because it is a long story, I was like, fuck this, I'm not tipping this girl, she does not deserve it. And the reason I say that is because I was a server. I served at Olive Garden when I was 18, so I know how it goes. But I also know, like, if you want to make your money, you really need to give good service. Do I feel bad? No. But at the end of it, as I was walking out, I found a busboy and I gave him the money and I said, please keep this for yourself. Do not give it to the server. I was like, because my service was terrible. And he was just like, okay, thank you. But yeah, didn't tip her. And I'm sure she was like, what the fuck? But it's like, no, what the fuck? Like, give good service, because at this point we all work very hard for our money. When we come, we want our stuff to be right and we want you guys to be punctual. So yeah, I didn't tip her. I did not tip her, but I did tip the busboy. So call me a bitch, I don't care, but yeah, sorry.
Everywhere that I go now, I am expected to tip.
And I don't have a problem being generous or tipping, but like if you hand me a drink out of a fridge, why am I tipping you? The billionaires who own these companies are happy to have the regular people be guilted into tipping for things that they probably shouldn't be tipping for, because then they don't have to pay their workers a living wage. Instead of them paying their workers fairly, they expect other people to have enough empathy for them to give them tips. And the thing is, we do. I still tip. I tip on dumb shit because I have empathy, and I know that people deserve to be paid more than what they're being paid, but it makes me pissed because I shouldn't be the one paying that. Their fucking boss should be the one paying that.
He $0 tips me on a $200 bill, and then where it says tip, he writes his phone number and then has the audacity to hand the bill back to me. And now I'm in trouble because I take it, I look at it, and I go, and I throw it at the table. And this is all happening, right? Because I hand him like the bill, right? And I go like, oh, I hope you enjoyed your meal. And as I'm standing at the host stand, I hear him go to his friends and he go, you see that? She wants me so bad. Watch this, to try and prove a point, right? And I'm in trouble. Why am I in trouble at work, bro? I'm not.
So I recently got my nails done a couple days ago and I did not tip, which I am so proud of myself for not tipping, because I will always tip even if I get the worst service, but this was just like uncalled for, so I did not tip. So this is just an encouragement that you don't have to tip, especially if you get bad service. So I went to go get my pedicure done, and I really wanted a white color. I wanted like a funny bunny type of, you know, that type of white color on my toes. I had gel on my toes, and so I told the nail tech, I said, I have gel on right now, but I just want a regular, you know, polish, because it's easier for you to take off when I'm at home. Like, it's just, I feel like regular polish lasts just as long as gel. But anyways, I went to go pick out a color, and I found one, and it was, I don't know, 524 or something like that. So I showed her the color, said I want this color, told her the number, and she first gets out her gel lamp, and I said, oh no, I don't want gel, I just want regular polish. I know kind of like ticked her off. So this is when it all started, when I said I didn't want the gel and she got her lamp out. So then I showed her the color I wanted, and she went to go get it, and it was clearly like a milky white color, and she comes back with a sparkly green color, like a Christmas tree color, which would be cute for Christmas, but that's not what I wanted. So anyway, she comes with it, and I was like, oh, I was like, no, I'm sorry, that's not the color I want. I really wanted this like milky white color. And she's like, oh, I don't think we have that one. I was like, okay. I said, well, then I picked the one like literally right next to it. It was like super similar. I'm like, how about this color? It's 555 and it's by Kiara Sky. I was like, okay, then I'll do this color. So I showed her the color. She walks back to find the color. She comes back with like a bright peachy pink color. And I'm like, oh, I was like, so I didn't want to like say it again. So I'm like sitting there with my feet in the tub, and I was like, oh, did you find the color? And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh wait, I was like, that's not the color. I wanted a white color. And she said, oh, we don't have a white color in regular polish. We only have it in gel. Liars! Which I knew they were lying. I'm like, how? This is a big salon, and I've been going there for years. And I'm like, how do you not have anyways. So she's like, we only have it in gel. I was like, yeah, I don't really want gel. I just want regular polish, and I really want like a white color. I said, do you have anything similar to these colors in regular gel or regular polish? So anyway, she's looking through her stuff, and she's pulling out her bright whites that she uses for French tip, and she's like testing the color of my toes. She's like, this is too white. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's too white. I said, do you have anything similar to the ones I showed you? And she's like, no, we don't have it. We only have in gel. And then the lady right next to me, actually, well, the nail tech right next to my nail tech, because me, my mom, and my sister were getting our toes done. So my mom was right next to me. And then her nail tech's like, oh yeah, she shows Funny Bunny. She said, we only have it in gel though. I was like, yeah, I said, I came in specifically, like, I really wanted a white polish on my toes. So anyways, with this like back and forth going, and I was not being rude at all. I was like, I'm so sorry. I said, I just really wanted a white polish. Like, if you have anything that's somewhat similar to like the one I picked out. She gets up, and I know she's bugged, and I feel like every time I go to the salon, it's like a fight. There's always an issue. So she goes and she starts like looking around, and she comes out with a color, and lo and behold, guess what color it is? It is the original color that I asked for. It was the Kiara Sky 555, this milky white color. So proof that they were lying. And then when she put it on, I was like, oh no, thank you. Like, that's the color I wanted. So she puts it on. She did my toes so fast. I didn't get lotion on my legs or my feet. I didn't get the toe separators, which I always get whenever I get my toes done. There was polish on my cuticles, like on my skin, on my big toe, all over my toes. I would put a picture, I did take a picture, but that's gonna cost you some extra money. I ain't giving out feet pics for free, okay? In this economy, absolutely not. So anyway, she purposely did a bad job. And I was kind of like, okay, I didn't say anything. I just kept quiet. Oh, and she didn't even put top coat on my toenails either. So she was trying to like teach me a lesson. And little does she know, she messed with the wrong girl, because I actually know how to do nails. I do my own builder gel nails. And anyway, so I was like, I was like, I am not gonna tip for this service. Like, dude, they first of all, they lied to me about the color. They tried to get me to do gel. It was a whole hassle. And then she purposely did my nails bad. So I paid for the service. I wasn't gonna try and argue to not pay for it, because I did that one time years ago in the past and it was just a major hassle. So anyways, I was like, I'm just gonna pay for it, keep my mouth shut, but she's not getting a tip. And I did not tip, which before in the past, which I'm gonna stop going to this nail salon, by the way, because this has happened many times before, but I would always tip. Even if something like this happened, I was like, no, screw it. I was like, this is a service that I am paying for, and I expect service, not to be lied to and have all this stuff. So I did not tip. So this is encouragement for you girls that it is okay. I know it's hard going to a nail salon. It's okay. If you do not get what you want and they blatantly don't listen, you cannot tip.
I'm feeling like us women need to stop tipping nail techs. I don't mean no harm. Like, we gotta pay to breathe. When it come to getting our nails done, we gotta pay to breathe the same air as them. Bitch, we gotta pay for every little thing. Everything. Shape. Everything. All that's fine though. Bitch, just don't look at me for no tip though. Because what exactly am I tipping you for? I didn't pay for everything on my nails. What did you do that was so special? I'm confused. I'm not understanding why nail techs need tips. That's just my opinion though.